What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Endless Infection on Void Launch. Void Launch is the map where we have to destroy the A1 shuttles. And then we'll have 3 B tiers. The first one, Incubation, enemy spawn Broodlings upon death. Second one, Black Death. They carry a plague, including the Broodlings infested. And Walkie Infested, all enemy spawn infested upon death. So we're going to do a tier list here of the 18 commanders. We're going to mention if a prestige is required. But otherwise, we'll mention if a commander drastically differs in ranking if they don't have prestiges. Also, S would be obviously the commander who can complete this with the least difficulty, even with a bit of offense and the bonus. And F tiers would be commanders who would need all the help they can get in beating this mutation. Again, this is assuming that you're a hard carrying ally, not necessarily soloing. So the commanders will have to do a lot of the work, but not necessarily all of the work. I have here Tutu and Stixbender on the call. How are you guys today?
Good.
That's awesome.
Existing. Very tired. Hi.
Alright. Actually, yeah. So let's go ahead and start with Abathur. Are we assuming the first prestige or the second prestige here?
Honestly, it's not too prestige dependent on Abathur as long as you're not the third prestige and making yourself suffer unnecessarily.
So just don't use...
First prestige makes it easier though.
Yeah,
because ultimate evolutions are bad against Black Death.
They don't out-heal Black Death. So if you have 100 biomass, you're able to completely out-heal the Black Death as Abathur.
The reason for that is because Abathur effectively cures Black Death, because Black Death technically is the unit damaging itself.
Yeah.
And biomass will give your unit life leech, which means if you have 100 biomass, your unit is 100% life leech, which means that it will heal itself for the damage it deals to itself with Black Death, which means you effectively take no damage from Black Death.
Alright, so where do we put Abathur?
A.
A? Do you agree, Tutu?
No.
No, okay.
I disagree because early game is really bad and he gets overwhelmed by the little infested that come out.
I actually agree. Yeah, it's pretty easy to underestimate how many those infested are. So where do we put him?
You don't want to waste your toxicness. You don't want to waste your toxicness on the critters, on the little guys.
So where do you put him?
You don't actually need biomass that fast early on to beat this mutation.
Well, if you don't have anything, you're gonna die unless you completely rely on your ally. So what I did was you use P2, and then you turn off you get 2 swarm hosts, and they can handle the early game. But that requires the manual turning off the evolution, the Brutalisk evolution. Yeah, so all your spare minerals later on will go to spores and spines, and then once you get like 3 or 4 swarm hosts, then you'll be fine.
So all of those would work. But where do we, Tutu, where do you put Abathur?
I put him as C because his early game is really hard. Like you get surrounded really fast. But if you have
an ally who you can at least count on the early game on, would you say he's B? Like if we average A and C, would that put him in B? I think I actually agree with C for now. We can move him up later if we have more commanders who are not that great. Yeah, I think we'll put him in C for now. How about Alarak? Alarak I think suffers here, right?
Alarak, I put him in E.
E. I can see why. Like he doesn't have anything that either out heals Black Death or ignores Black Death entirely other than cannons.
If you have a heckin' good micro with him, he's trivial, but that's it. That he just is completely impossible.
Yep.
It is literally like either you really have the micro down and nothing bad can happen aside from small micro errors that making like tiny costs, or you die. Period.
What about cannons for the shuttles and then Patla for the waves? Would that work?
Well, they're hybrids later.
Right, detection. They are detectors. That's right. So that wouldn't work either. So I don't think even micro would work here unless you're one of the best.
All I would do is micro he is E tier because the micro is just assume that micro doesn't exist. But how I would do it to make it quite easy is I would just make a ball of supplicants, maybe some stalkers in there, and I would have them in one control group and Alarak in another control group, and then I would have Alarak solo everything from just close enough to that ball that he can eat supplicants. And then
Without
Alarak would
infecting
just
them.
yeah.
It requires a lot of micro,
Yeah, it
but
requires
it's
a lot.
doable.
How about Artanis? I think he's in the same boat, honestly.
He's in a
better.
slightly better spot.
B?
He's
Because-
better
Actually,
because he has
considerably better
Tempest.
spot.
He has Tempests?
Tempest.
I don't.
He has
Tempest
Tempest. Also, the fact that he can just. So here's the thing. The way that I usually deal with Black Death as Artanis is I just use Zealot Templar because I just basically treat my Zealots and High Templar as over-glorified banelings, and that
Yikes.
works really, really well. No, like really, that actually
Expensive,
works.
though.
It's not actually that expensive, to be honest. Like, honestly, I'm not sure you realize just how much money worth of Baneling Zagara goes through when you're killing an average attack wave.
Oh, but anyway, do we assume prestige for Artanis? Like, would you just
E3.
Archon? Yeah, Archon dudes I think are good enough for
Anything
the
but
waves.
P2 is helpful.
So
P1 is even good.
So the way you handle this is Archons and the Tempests.
And then you put cannons as
Cannons.
the chokes,
Cannons around,
as the
yeah.
conduits.
Cannons around the chokes.
To prevent
I
the
probably wouldn't even use Tempest, honestly. I would just use Cannon, Zealot, High Templar. That's it.
Don't do that, because that's a lot harder.
yeah, it's a lot
Okay.
harder. Like I don't count on
It
regular
requires so
people.
much more.
Tempests are just going to say, oh, look, I have a Tempest that, oh, a Broodling just ran under me at 50 million miles per hour.
That's why you
Death.
control
I'm
them.
dead.
Yeah, but either way,
right-click the
That's
targets
easier
and you
to
walk away.
You
either
just
way,
the Zealots, and you don't care if they get Black Death because the point is they die after killing this wave.
but yeah,
That's-
either way, we kind of agree that he's D tier, so
Yeah, he's
slightly
D tier.
better than Alarak. All right,
Definitely, Tempest literally a
so
hurdle.
Dehaka, what do we say?
I put him in B.
B because of pack
Assuming
leaders.
P2, but I don't think you need P2 just because you're going to do the same
hosts?
thing. You're going to use the creeper hosts,
Yeah.
and when Dehaka dies, he'll respawn with no Black Death. And then when he's
Yeah.
dead, you summon a pack leader, let them die, kill some stuff.
That sounds really good. How about you, Stickspender? What do you think?
Yeah, Dehaka is pretty simple, straightforward.
So B. All right.
Only B because he requires like you have to manually control the
You have to
swarm
protect
hosts.
your sword hosts. Yeah. So Phoenix. Do we assume prestige here? The second one. That's
yeah. P2.
P2. Use
Yeah.
P2.
That's what I
move
did.
champions.
That's what I. It felt,
I mean, it's literally the same deal as Dehaka.
it's already felt pretty straightforward. So yeah. Do we say he's also B?
B. He's
I
same
put
deal as
him
Dehaka.
in C, but
Why C? How is he
They-
different from Dehaka, really?
he's not as safe as Dehaka. Like he doesn't have like if you mess up a little bit, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. Like if you lose a suit because you forgot to switch it or something. If you
That's
put your
true.
shells too close.
I would say
true.
that if an infected guy makes it to your swarm hosts somehow or your creeper host somehow, for Dehaka, you're kind of in the same boat. So I would
you
say
never get
that
close.
You know what? I would also. Here's another thing I can point out. Phoenix has a much harder time actually killing the shuttles. With P2 Phoenix,
I can
you
attest to that.
Discover how tanky those shuttles are.
I can attest to that. The shuttles are pretty tricky to kill.
C. C. He
C?
has ways to deal with it, but shuttles are annoyingly
Yeah, I
tanky.
agree. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, not quite the Haka level. How about Han and Horner?
Hot and Horner
F.
have better static defense than I know we've seen before by right of being Terran, because missile turrets are just the best 1v1 turret.
Wait,
F
you said
tier.
F? Why is that? No one else is worse.
Because he doesn't. Well, you have to manually send Hellbats to stop Broodlings, and if you just have missile turrets by themselves, they're gonna get killed by Broodlings, lots of them. So, and to attack the shuttles, you use wraiths, but you have to manually click and control them, and make sure you have to kill the detector. Then you kill the shuttles and you run
Yeah.
away.
Any
And
objections,
then the-
Sticksbender? Any objections to F?
I don't think they're that much worse off than Alarak.
Alarak at least can deal with infested, like before he dies.
All right. If how about we put him in E? But if no one else is worse, we'll drop him right away to F. How about that?
Yeah, I put those two as EF or FE. I switched them, but
Sure.
Yeah, they're both bad.
Karax has to be S here, right? He has to be S.
No.
Why?
Not S.
Because someone's better.
Uh,
Because someone's better. Is that the reason
Karax is not S only because you don't want too many S's.
Yeah, that's true. That's
you don't
true.
Want too many
you don't want too many
and,
S's.
And then I could see two other people who I would put ahead of him.
I can also see. Yeah. But anyway,
we all
he's not S
people.
because he has a little bit more trouble dealing with the Broodlings, the number of Broodlings.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. But other than that, he's like the third. He has
A. Yeah, pretty good. Still pretty good. Kerrigan. Would Malevolent make sure? Would the creep out heal Black Death unlike Zerglings?
No, it does not.
No,
you do not do that.
So
you hero solo.
Must worm.
Hero solo and just keep hiding her. I'm guessing.
Here's what I would do. I don't know how hard people consider this. I don't see nearly enough people doing this. I would go worms. I would go Kerrigan, and I'd have a blob of queens at home. And every time Kerrigan's getting low,
no one does that. Yeah, no one can do that.
That's what you do.
I know.
No one can do that.
I've done that before. I've done that before, but I can say that only like the top 2% of players can do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even hard.
And then use all your minerals on spores and spines at the conduits.
You need camera locations, you need control groups, and
I don't use camera locations.
You just need to know that if you click on your minimap, it will actually move your camera to where you clicked on, which think most people know that.
Yeah, I don't think 98% of the players can do that. 2% of players can do that. And,
okay.
Yeah. So
either way, how you would fight it normally is you would have your worm full of Hydralisks. The Hydralisks don't take damage from Black Death while inside the worm.
Yep.
So basically, it just means that they can only like come out of the worm for little moments. Pew 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 pew. All right, get back in the worm.
And Mutalisks cannot out-heal Black Death. Even when they're out of combat, they're technically still in combat, right?
Yes, because Black Death.
All right. So
I made 0 Hydralisks. Just 0.
Solo.
Just static.
Hero solo.
Spore, Spine, and Kerrigan immobilization wave kill everything.
Spore, Spine, Omegorms, and Kerrigan.
Use Kerrigan.
E0.
You're assuming people know how to use Kerrigan.
Yeah, that's also true. Like a lot of people do, but a lot of people can use Kerrigan well enough to kind of still
1 unit.
Yeah, still. What do you say? D tier? She can't be as bad. She can't be as bad as Alarak, can she? Because at least she has some healing.
No, not Alarak.
No, she's not nearly as bad as Alarak. She's so much better than Alarak.
So like DRC.
DRC.
We'll put him in D for now, but we'll put her in D. Yeah, Arcturus. I would say
S.
Bunker is good.
Fire guys.
You build a bunker. You win the game.
Do we assume any prestigious here? Like I know our Merchant of Death is really good.
It doesn't matter. Merchant of Death makes it easier because then if you mess up, then your guys blow up in the enemy's face and solve all your problems for you. But like anything works. Literally anything works. You just make bunkers. You can make some Earth Splitters if you feel like it because Earth Splitter good unit.
I wouldn't make Earth Splitters here because the main objectives are air-based, but
Contaminated Strike is good.
How many bunkers does it take to gun down the main objectives? The main objective, the shuttles are trivial for Minsk. It's just the ESOs just make the waves slightly easier.
Yeah, they're for the waves. I actually agree. Yeah,
for the waves.
It's just proper.
Minsk bunker strong, and you could even put flamers inside of. You put flame troopers inside the bunkers, and it's no, Broodlings. Anyways, they lasted all of 2 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, Nova.
Suffering.
D.
But doable.
Yeah, doable.
It's the same strategy as Artanis, which is you use Live Raiders, you right-click the shuttles, and then you run away. And then you let your static D or Nova kill the Broodlings.
Not Goliaths?
It's a lot of work.
I would say Nova kills the swarm of little guys. I would use Liberators 100%. Because they're fast and they have good vision radius, and that lets me Griffin Airstrike. And I would mostly just Griffin Airstrike. And remember, Liberators have as much anti-air range as Goliaths, but Liberators are faster and they're air units, and they do splash damage. So they're just better.
I think I'm
Same
getting
as Kerrigan.
C. I'm getting C vibes here.
I would say C.
How about you, Stick? How
I
about you
put
two?
C.
C. All
I
right.
put
So
C,
we're
but
unanimous.
yeah.
We're unanimous. So Raynor.
At least Nova doesn't die to the Black Death.
How about Raynor?
Raynor. D.
B. Oh,
D? That low?
D.
I would have put him in B.
I would put him in C because bunkers.
I would put him in B
Well, you
for
can't
bunker.
use. You can't use P1. Everyone's favorites. You can't use that.
Well, no.
Okay,
I'm not going to use P1.
We need to formally denounce P1 as existing. Okay,
I'm not going to use
P1
backwater.
is-
I'm gonna still not. I'm not going to use any prestige at all. I would just make bunkers like Karax style, near the conduits, and then fill them up with marines. And then if I have extra SCV, I'll keep building SCVs, then send them to repair, and when they die, just replace them with more SCVs. The bunkers.
I would use P3 and use exclusively the Hyperion to solo the entire mission, but that's probably too much to ask of most people.
Yeah, it's
so
too
I
much
would
to
say
ask.
P1, P0, and P0.
I'm definitely getting C vibes from Raynor, just because he can definitely do bunkers. If you get the upgrades for them, they can be pretty decent.
I mean, I think that just the power of his bunkers, plus the fact that mules means you can afford to spam out those bunkers and missile turrets, just alone makes he's in a better situation than Nova or Phoenix.
And it's something with
B.
range strikes.
I
You can
would put
just
him B.
Yeah. Do you think B? I don't think he's
I
quite
think
Dehaka
B.
level. I think he's quite
I don't
Dehaka
think-
level.
At least at highest C.
Yeah, I think
But-
I'm definitely getting C vibes from Raynor.
But I think it's strange that having a lot of control groups is a lot to ask, but isn't the same with Raynor macro?
I guess
okay,
that's
but
true.
then we're just relegating Raynor to always be a low tier because we say, I'm sorry, your macro alone against standard brutal makes you a D tier commander. It's like, wait, so Raynor is a D tier if there were no mutators?
I think he's
Yes,
C though.
correct.
I think he's C though. I don't see him as D.
Okay, C, fine.
Yeah.
Now that I don't think he's that bad actually.
It feels like we keep putting him at low tiers. It's like he would have been low tier against no mutators whatsoever. by the
Well,
logic that
there
we
are some
use.
situations.
That's the
For
same
example,
as Abathur. Abathur's getting that treatment.
same treatment. Yep.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
I definitely think Abathur.
Unfortunately-
because I don't think the early game's nearly as hard as you guys made out. But
we're
oh well.
also taking into account the player base here. That's why Abathur and Raynor are always low, which is unfortunate, but it's true. Stetboy.
A.
Yeah. So green zone. You can use corruptors. You can use what I did for Stetboy is infestors, which is boring and APM intensive, but it's Zerg APM, which is basically just holding that single button.
I would consider Infestors a much harder solution. I would
That's
just use
true.
Yeah.
Gary,
It's pretty
Zorgling,
normal.
Corruptor, maybe Baneling if I felt like it.
Yeah, you can use corruptors. You can use Hydralisks. You can use the green zone's pretty
I
good.
wouldn't recommend Hydralisks.
You don't even have to do anything different. You just play and keep your green light on, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yep.
never turn off green. And
But I
that's
just-
why Infestors are annoying, because it's like, well, then you have to stay on purple, but then you can't keep Gary alive
yeah.
with Black Death.
Yeah,
So then you have to worry about not catching Black Death on Gary, or just not having Gary. It's like, these are just...
I actually
green
just
zone.
I actually just
Gary
used
doesn't
Gary
die.
once in my run. I just used Gary, but when he died, well, just stay there.
Yeah,
my-
yeah.
my other stuff will handle the rest. I
Easy
even got
P2, Gary practically solos the entire mission as long as you keep the green zone on.
I don't think the green zone can out-heal Black Death on Super Gary.
So, if you have P2 Super Gary, the green zone by itself can't, but if you overcharge a Stetolite, then for some reason, Black Death ignores shields, except not Stetolite shield, because Stetolite shield is special for some reason.
That's
So
fun.
then if you just overcharge a Stetolite next to him as neutral, and you overcharge 2 Stetolites next to him, and now he's healing. Permanent
Stukov
green.
is S, right? Stukov has to be S.
No.
No, same as Karax.
Same as Karax.
He gets swarmed.
I
he
would
has
have
a-
thought it was S. But
He's good.
Okay. I
He's
mean,
good,
if
but
you
he
don't
gets
agree
swarmed.
that he's S, so I'll defer to you. If you
I'd
say he's
say
A, yeah.
Well,
Swan is also at least
Swan
B.
I would put an S.
Swan is S.
There we go.
Fire.
There we go. Now he's Swan. Yeah.
This is basically the biggest one for me is looking at it is like, okay, who do I put an S, Swan or Stukov? And that's actually
Swan static defense, like Flaming Betties.
That's a hard choice. Yeah, Flaming Betties are great.
Flaming Betties.
And you don't have to. You don't have to
Swan
attack.
is strictly harder.
Exactly.
Because the
So
problem
it's
is Swan
beautiful.
is strictly harder by the. Okay, you know what? No, I was about to say Swan is strictly harder by the nature of being Swans. It's a hard commander, but hold on. There's one thing that saves Swan and makes him solid S tier commander. P1 Swan. The laser drill slows shuttles.
That's amazing.
So that you can slow shuttles so that it takes them 4 times as long to get to the. Which, as you can imagine, is really helpful if you could just say, hey, shuttles, you know how you were escaping? No.
Okay, so a lot of you are gonna ask, why is Swan higher than Karax? The answer is Flaming Betties. They just
Flash damage.
they don't even melt. Melt means you turn something into liquid. No, they vaporize. They vaporize all the infested. And they don't require like energizers to make them better. Karax needs energizers, and the energizers will catch COVID and they will die. Swan
I wouldn't
doesn't
use
need any of that.
energizers as Karax, honestly.
Yeah.
I would just do cannon monolith, mostly monolith with a wall of cannons in front.
And
Just
Swan
like 3 rows of monoliths.
Swan has the first prestige. You can slow down stuff, and if you don't have the first prestige, pulse cannon and constant beam is still good. Which can match the Spear of Vadun, maybe, but at the end of the day, it's all about the splash. Like
and
Swan static
another
defense.
nifty thing about
Go ahead.
Another nifty thing about Swan is remember how you like mentioned in your bug list the whole thing where pulse cannon is actually 6 explosions of 100 damage, not 1 explosion of 600
That's
damage.
gonna help against
That's what that means for the infested and broodlings that pop out.
Yeah, that's gonna help against the broodlings
Delete.
infested. But yeah,
they all just get
the
deleted.
difference is Swan static defense has splash. Flame Betties splash ground. Spinning DZ splash air. So your static defense as Swan is much better against the mutation. For this mutation, just this mutation. Tychus.
B.
Yeah, I'm thinking B as well. Like
You
once
play
you get,
normally.
You play normally.
except you get like either
Double
Rattlesnake
healer.
or Nikara first.
No,
Double healer.
you don't need double healer. But I
Oh,
use
really?
P1.
Oh.
I use P1
Makes
with
sense.
Rattlesnake first, and then you get Blaze at some point, and then everything dies.
Yeah.
All the infested.
Yes.
Is there?
If you do feel like using P2, note that on P2, as long as they keep the lone wolf buff, outlaws will just sit at 1 hit point and not die.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, but you don't
They'll-
want them to get tickled at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's like that's a blessing and a curse because on one hand they have 1 hit point.
Okay,
die
does
from
the
anything. On
rating
the other
dramatically
hand-
change for Swan without prestige?
Swan, no.
No, still
no.
B.
Swan does not care.
He always
Like,
his
all the-
flaming betties for all of them.
Yeah.
He has flaming betties for all of them, and he either has slowing laser drill or pulse cannon.
Same with Tychus, right?
It's good or good. Tychus, yeah, B either way.
Still B without
whichever you
prestige.
use.
All right, here now is Vorazun. So this is why I wanted to keep the F open. This is why I wanted to keep F
Vorazun
open.
is-
What?
I don't think she's that bad. I know in recent weeks we've been treating her badly, but I don't think she's that bad if you use your call downs well.
Okay.
So it has to be P2, so they don't die to
Yeah,
Black
so
Death.
the
And
Black
then,
Death. I would
then
play
you
Vorazun like
pylon wall.
Pylon Wall.
You don't actually have to kill the infested. You just kill the detectors, and then you
Right.
leave the infested or outside your pylon wall.
Okay. And how do
And
you kill
then
the
You time
objectives?
snipe the shuttles. Time stop.
You time stop to kill the hybrids, and then you use
Oh.
Corsairs to kill the shuttles.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like
A lot of
work,
courses.
but it sounds like a lot of work. But like, I can see that being like Alarak tier.
It's a lot less micro intensive than because you just make the wall and you sit there and let the infested look at nothing while you kill all their detectors with
That's true.
Corsairs and time stop.
So like
you would
Artanis
just
tier.
like mono battle
Yes.
Corsairs. You would put Artanis tier.
Okay.
yeah.
Uh,
Not-
I would not
Personally-
consider her as good as Artanis.
Personally, I put Vorazun in F tier. So viewers, I'm already being relatively kind to Vorazun by putting her in D.
No,
I
no,
personally
I
have
don't
her in
think,
F.
I think Vorazun as good as Artanis. No, Artanis is definitely better here. Much better.
Okay, we can. Oh wait,
I would
is the
dump her in
distance?
E tier? I will say Vorazun is closer to E tier, Dumper and E tier, and the 3 E tier commanders will be really close, I think. All 3 of those are close.
Yeah. This is why I got E vibes from earlier, because you can do it, but you need to have supreme awareness.
She is definitely not Artanis level or Kerrigan level. Well, maybe Kerrigan level, but
I only put her in D because I beat it in one try.
I beat it in one try. That's amazing.
But I took like 10 tries for Artanis, not Artanis, Alarak and Han Horner.
Okay, yeah,
like, that took a lot of.
Alarak and Han Horner, I can understand tons of attempts. Artanis, why would that take multiple attempts for you?
COVID?
I took like 2 or 3 maybe for Artanis. It was really easy.
Yeah, it's easy. Artanis is. This is like something with. If I rolled this on Brutal Plus with Artanis, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is chill.
Okay. Okay, how about Zagara?
B.
B. I'm getting the same. Yeah, I'm guessing B because like your Scourge and Balance will die anyway, so it's almost free. Like you play for Zagara, we put her in B because she plays normally, but without Prestige. I'm guessing she's a little bit worse because her
Bio
are less.
You have to use Bio Launchers.
So she's still B without Prestige. Yeah, I would put her without Prestige. I'd put her in C.
I would say without Prestige, I would just play like I was I would play like I was P1, pretend I had P1, and I'm pretty sure she has enough. I think you have enough Scourge and Banelings without P1. P1 just makes it considerably easier.
All right. How about Zeratul? I put him in like
A.
A. Yeah, I think Zeratul's A
really?
because Cannon's.
I think he's A.
Cannon's good.
His good.
Cannons are good and all, but
yeah, his cannons are good.
Yeah,
they don't die.
They don't die. They don't get.
And
COVID.
he has AOE cannons or
cannons are just good.
Monoliths, yeah. Cannon's good.
Oh yeah, that's right. His monoliths do splash. I don't know. My brain froze there. Yes. So Zeratul. Yeah, obviously it's Zeratul. He's literally better than.
He's still A. He's still A without Prestige. But like, if you want to be really A, like super A, you want to have the second. It looks like we have this tier. Do we demote someone to F tier, or do we call this?
Be demoted to? I think someone should be demoted to F. It's like kind of looking at these 3 and saying, okay, so they're all terrible. We can all agree on that. Who is the most terriblest?
I haven't played. I don't want to play any of these commanders on Black Death, so I would rule myself out of this conversation.
Han and Horner. Yeah. I mean, I kind of like thought like Magmines are pretty good, but no, yeah, like the Broodlings. It's like, oh wait, no, they're Black Death Broodlings. Oh, well,
Vorazun at least has cannons that don't die to Black Death.
That's true. Like for these two, at the very least, they can claim to have cannons.
Like if I look at it as just Black Death, Han and Horner are like, oh yeah, no, don't worry, no problem. And then they say, oh, and there's Broodlings too. Well, oh, everything's ruined.
Yep. Okay, so this is our tier list in a vacuum. We have 4 A tiers and 2 spots. We wanna bell curvify it.
Who do we demote from A tier here?
They're all really good.
They're all really good. It's hard to demote someone.
Here's the real problem. If we demote someone from A, we almost end up with an even worse problem where we have to demote everyone in B, because who in B is anywhere close to as good as the ones in A right now?
No one.
There's like a huge gap between the A tier and B tier. So huge that we literally just no one in A tier can be in the same tier as anyone in B tier right now.
How about
because there's just too big of a gap.
Add a rule above.
A minus or something?
A minus.
That's not going to be a bell then. It's just one person in A minus.
Well, we could put 2 people
in
A minus.
Maybe?
Which 2 would you put? I would probably say
still red. Still
and Stetmann.
That boy.
Well,
so hard to.
Yeah, they're all so good.
I don't feel like
they're all so good.
I would probably A minus Stukov and Stetmann if I had to pick one. Probably. Well, no, wait, no, not Stukov.
Okay, how about this?
If we can't be.
If we all agree.
The only reason I think Stetmann is the first candidate for A minusing, but then I only thought Stukov because I was like, well, Karax and Zeratul are like so similar, I can't really distinguish between them. But Stukov is the best of those 4, I would argue. So it doesn't make any sense to put him in A-. It's like, yeah, no, A- is not.
Well, if we all agree, is there anyone who's clearly better among them? We can demote. We can promote to A+.
Stukov.
Okay, how about this? We put them all. This is A, and then we make it A+.
Stukov.
So we make Stukov. So we have a choice here. We can either demote someone from S to A+, or promote someone from A to A+. So are we demoting someone from A? Or are we demoting someone from S, or are we promoting someone from A?
I mean,
Karax is really good.
Karax is really good.
But the auto healing also helps your ally if that's the thing.
Ooh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. The repair beam literally can allow some allies to like have some measure of surviving Black Death with a few mechanical units.
Green Zone makes Vorazun playable.
I mean, yeah, Vorazun in particular. Who else does it really benefit here?
Raynor.
Raynor.
Han and Horner.
I mean, Raynor.
Han and Horner.
Han and Horner, Raynor, and Vorazun can all play normally under Green Zone. Is true. I think Han and Horner can just play normal. Well, the problem is Han and Horner. Here's the ironic thing. For Han and Horner, I think that the worst mutator here for Han and Horner isn't even Black Death. It's literally the Broodlings.
Incubation, yeah. But I think just by virtue, I think just by virtue of making some of these lower tier commanders playable, I think Stetmann deserves a promotion to A+.
You know what? If we're honestly, purely on the logic of it makes your ally's life a trillion times easier, Stetmann gets the promotion because so it makes your ally's life so much easier.
Stukov
Karax replace Stukov.
Yeah, but that
no
repair beam though. I guess it's still not enough. Yeah,
too good at being IDEF. He's too good at IDEF to be really like. Keep in mind, also Stukov has such an easy time with early game because you just infest a structure and your Broodlings overpower Amon's Broodlings without breaking a sweat.
That's assuming P3.
No, that's assuming you have a top bar.
Yeah, for Stukov, like even if you have no prestige,
I would honestly not use P3. I would use not P3 for Stukov.
No prestige. Because bunkers are still good.
Yeah.
Like six guys that shoot inside the bunker. Bunkers are the reason why Raynor
P1 probably.
Raynor isn't D.
Honestly, I would use P1 Stukov probably.
I wouldn't go that far. I would still use bunkers, but like the reason why Raynor isn't D is because bunkers exist. Mm-hmm. So like you don't. So Stukov is bunkers plus you send free constantly toward the enemy, and you have 2 incredibly powerful top bars. That's why.
Plus you have like just the short cooldown infest structure is just that handles like the whole early game for you. It's incredible.
So anyway, these are our rankings. Who's better, Swan or Arcturus?
Swan.
There we go. Swan number 1.
His turrets heal themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Swan number 1.
Yeah.
The dream!
Just look at Arcturus as just having so much room for error compared to Swan.
That's true. You could call down the bunker with Arcturus.
You can call down the bunker. If you use P3, well, okay, you know what? I would say P3 Arcturus is better than Swan, but any other Arcturus is...
Okay, who's better between Stukov and Stetboy?
This one's hard, but Stukov for independent, Stetmann is just like... Stetmann's only up here because it's like... You see, I wasn't as strong as the other 5 on my own, but I made my ally so much more powerful that I got here anyways.
So who do we say? I'm actually... I may be biased because I like green, but I'm leaning towards Stetboy here. But if you both agree about Stukov, I will differ.
I look at these two and it's just like... It's so apples to oranges. It's just like they're so different,
Stukov
and
is good.
Plus for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
And I just like I don't know how I can even make a comparison here.
Stukov's good because he can basically ignore the mutation and his ally, but Stetboy is good because he can ignore the mutation and make his ally better.
He ignores the mutation and his ally can ignore the mutation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sometimes.
The only thing about The only thing about Stetmann is that there's sometimes you're kind of worried that Gary will die. Sometimes, if you're like, just sometimes you might be worried.
I would think I would give Gary the higher rank, or I would give Stetmann the higher rank here, just because it's co-op, not solo op. I would just give that little bit of premium for
maybe
helping out an ally. Who's better than Zeratul and Karax?
Karax, because top bar. So Servadoon Gober. Solar Lance, you get the Fire Lance on Solar Lance.
And then
the Fire Lance will just automatically delete all the infested and broodlings.
In case of emergency, if the shuttles are near the exit, you can now orbital strike. Yep.
Click.
Karax is better.
Oh, look, they're dead. Karax is definitely better. Karax is definitely better.
So for B, who's the best between these three?
Dehaka.
Alright, there we go.
Dehaka.
Then Zagara or Tychus?
Then
Tychus. Zagara.
I would have put Zagara above, but okay.
I don't have a problem either way. Tychus and Zagara
is better than Tychus,
interchangeable.
But okay.
Zagara runs, like, if you mess up, you're gonna run out and you're gonna get overwhelmed.
That's true.
Like, you run out of banelings. If you mess up and you get too many of them, you waste too many of them, you're gonna get surrounded.
If you play P1 Zagara, I don't see how you manage to run out.
So who's the best between Raynor, Abathur, Fenix, and Nova? It has to be Fenix, right?
Nova's last.
Nova's last, yeah.
Nova's last.
It has to be Fenix, right? Fenix has to be the best between these four.
Fenix is easier.
I think that Abathur should have been in B tier anyways, so...
So you think Abathur's worse than Nova?
I'm an experienced Abathur player, and I don't think he was that. Like, I don't think he's bad, but I think he has trouble in the beginning, which Fenix does not, because he has
Phoenix
Countdown.
Definitely doesn't. Phoenix definitely doesn't have trouble. In the beginning.
So these are the proper rankings: Fenix, Abathur, Raynor, and Nova. Raynor can actually do fine with the first wave if he has a bunker and dudes inside it. But like, it gets trickier once you're up against Tempest, Siege tanks. Dude lords, like, you had to send units out to fight them.
To be honest, against most comps, you just put your barracks at the ramp, and then you'll have your banshees before that attack wave kills the barracks.
I guess. Anyway, so who's better between Artanis and Kerrigan?
Artanis.
All right. And then,
just because Kerrigan requires a lot more micro and stuff, if you're not sure how to do it, then you can't use it.
All right, last one.
Can't use it.
Alarak or Vorazun?
I guess we do Vorazun because Alarak would just be so much micro to do.
You'll see my solo next week.
Here, Vorazun above Alarak here.
All right, Vorazun above Alarak.
This one, yes. Yeah.
All right, so here are our rankings. The best for this mutation is Swan, then Arcturus, then Stetboy, Stukov, Karax, Zeratul, Dehaka, and then a quasi just almost tie between Tychus and Zagara. And then Fenix, then Abathur, then Raynor, then Nova, then Artanis, then Kerrigan, then Vorazun, then Alarak, then finally Hot and Horror. Alright. There we go, guys. That's gonna do it for this week's tier list. Go watch Tutu and Stixbender's channels. I will link them down below. And I will see you guys next time.